Pastor Ashes has been very gracious. He said, you plow the land and I'll put in the seeds. It's easy to put in the seeds. Not it too long. To plow it takes some time. So he knows I'm a bit long-winded. He sent me off first. I'm going to share with you enduring in uncertainty, because you asked for the me.
Yes.
In Matthew chapter 24, Jesus is prophesying about what will happen in the last days. And we are actually in the last days.
Yes.
Amos chapter 8 verse 11, not me, but Amos chapter 8 verse 11, he said, in the last days there will be a famine.
Yes.
Not a famine for food or water, but a famine for hearing the word of the Lord.
Amen.
And the New Testament, Amos says, it's now.
Amen.
We have a lot of Bible schools, thank God for that. We have the New Testament in our hands. But we have difficulty in hearing accurate words from the Holy Spirit.
That's right.
And sometimes it's so important for our situation. When we go through uncertainty, we need a word from the Lord. And recent time, I was really pressed in for my wife. I'm standing for her complete healing. And I also realized that God was realigning me, positioning me in a new level in the Spirit. I just had to go out of my way to press on in trusting the Lord, rather than focusing on the situation, but really giving God the glory. And I had to do that. And God began to speak to me one morning from Psalms chapter 40, verse 1 to 3. And he said, and the word of God says, I waited and waited. And the Hebrew is very wonderful. I waited and waited, and again I waited and waited. He inclined his ears and heard my cry, and took me out of the horrible pit, take me out of the miry clay, set me on the rock, and established my steps, and put a song in my mouth, and others will see and they will fear the Lord. The kind of miracles that we need today. There's been a lot of attack on the church, like cancer coming in and destroying people. I mean, good Christians dying of cancer.
That's right.
People prayed, people fasted, people believed God till the end. And there's such attack. God is trying to lift us up out of our situation and place us seated together with Him, not only by word, but in the Spirit. Position ourselves with spiritual authority and command that Spirit to lead the church. So that people can get healed and be a testimony. Amen. In Matthew chapter 24, Jesus is talking about the end times, the wars, the famines. Of course, it is not written tsunami, but great waves and different kind of plagues and all that. Then he says that Christians will be hated and they will be killed. And all we know now, they're not so far from here, they're being killed. And then he says in verse 13, Matthew chapter 24, verse 13, he says, and those who endure till the end will be saved.
Amen.
And directly after that, verse 14, and this gospel will be preached to the whole world as a witness before the end comes. And then, of course, verse 15 of the abomination coming to the temple. But the thing is, we are in that period, and crisis is happening, ISIS is rising, and Christ is the answer. But the thing is, we need to trust God in the situation. We need to rise above it. We cannot say it's so far away, there's a problem going on, it's not affecting our country, so praise the Lord.
That's right.
Don't wait until it comes to your neighbor house and somebody got killed and you're the next one.
Yeah.
No, these days they use kitchen knife and finish you off.
That's right.
They might come in a disguise, standing beside you. Now what are you going to do about that? You might go home too early. Maybe it's not your time to come because of fear you went off.
That's right.
But if you turn around and say, I rebuke that spirit in Jesus' name.
Amen.
And he gets slain, or his knife become like a rubber.
That's right. Amen.
And you preach the gospel to him. Wow. That's what's going to happen. In the midst of persecution, God is raising an army. He's speaking to the dry bones. And he's raising an army. that will endure till the end. Meaning to say, these people are so connected with God, they will not be affected by the tsunami. They will serve on the tsunami and they will fulfill the Great Commission. Amen. They will fulfill the Great Commission in new type of caliber that God is raising, and we need to prepare ourselves beforehand. If you think you need a prophecy, and this is a prophecy to you.
That's right.
One of the toughest lessons a Christian can learn is how to trust and praise God in uncertain time between a promise and its fulfillment. It is a powerful act of spiritual warfare to stand in the middle of death and disease, conflict and unresolved issues, where you cause your spirit to rise and give thanks to God. That's a different strength. That's supernatural strength. We usually define victory as confronting and changing the circumstance we are facing. But however, God counts victory when you experience losses but continue to pray and have faith in His character and His goodness.
Amen.
That's a greater victory. It is not, of course, it's great. Abraham waited, holding on to the promise that he will have a promised child. He praised God for his faith. But the greater faith is when God spoke to him and said, "Give him to me, sacrifice him to me." It is very hard for a loving father, even though he believed that God can raise him. It's difficult to do the ISIS work. You know, kill your own son.
That's right.
But he did it. It is hard. But when the action came, God stopped him. Because he already passed the test. How many of you are ready to pass the test?
Amen.
It's going to be tough. It's going to get tougher. But God is greater than that.
Amen.
Amen. We need to embrace Him. We need to go through the test. We need to be specialized in this and rise above the tsunami. Because, you know, when trouble comes, I mean, if trouble comes and you can't really present the gospel because of the law of the land and everything. And what are you going to do? You probably say in your heart, "Lord, you know, as a believer in the last 1 year, I can't remember how many I've brought to the Lord, not even. But I've shared the gospel. But with this war coming, Lord, you know, it's going to be difficult because the Lord says that if I share the gospel to others, then I will be jailed for 7 years and 7 strokes on the back. I'm going to lose my job. You know, I have 3 children. They're studying in the school. I know, Lord, you understand my circumstances. Normally, I have not brought 2 for a year. So I leave it to the pastors, the full-timers. We will pray for them, Lord. But Lord, we don't know what the angels are doing. Why don't you ask them to preach the gospel? Because when they get cut, it won't touch them. Different kinds of doctrine comes in. But Jesus is saying that in the midst of Christians being killed, he that endured till the end shall be saved. The next verse, and this gospel shall be preached as a witness. That means he's training people in the midst of all this, rising above the tsunami, moving in the power of the Holy Spirit. Every one of them. Not because you can't say, "Oh, I'm not gifted." We're all gifted. We have one gift, not 2 or 3. We have only one gift, and He's a person. Jesus. He came with divine nature and divine power. And according to His call, He will lead you and use you. God honors you when you continue to seek Him, even when things don't work out the way you expected. But you still declare His glory and His power. In Isaiah chapter 60, verse 18, the last part, it says, "But you shall call your walls salvation and your gates praise." It seems like the entrance to heavenly blessing is praise. It's a powerful weapon. The children of Israelites, when they're going down Jericho, they get high praise. It's called Ahela praise. They probably shouted. I think one reason is because when you're faced with a problem with that big wall and those giants out there, possibly you'll be doubtful. And so the only way is, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. So that you won't look at your problem. You keep praising Him and you get great victory. Amen. But in Revelation chapter 21, verse 21, it also talks about the gates when New Jerusalem comes on new earth, when new heaven also comes together. New Jerusalem comes in and Jesus will begin to rule and reign. That gate is called, it's made of, the gates of Jerusalem is made of solid pearl. Now here it says in Isaiah, the gates are called praise. And then in Revelation chapter 21, verse 21, it says, it's made of pearl. Now, how is pearl made? Let me share with you how pearl is made. Because I've been going to Indonesia quite a bit, and there's one place, one sea, that's like 300 meter deep. That's why they nurture the pearls. An oyster, you know, when a granule of sand drops into the oyster will release all its power and energy to cover the granule of sand so that it will not hurt it. But that covering and that thing becomes a pearl. And the Bible is comparing praise with pearl. Irritation, conflict with praise. Praise is a kind of suffering. In the midst of difficulty, but giving God the honor. When we are stuck in conflict and uncertainty, and yet we praise Him without manipulation, it is a sacrifice, a kind of praise, a kind of suffering, but honorable suffering. It means we are reacting in a way that produces something beautiful before God.
Amen.
Amen. We really have to change our ways and use this powerful weapon in the midst of and praise the Lord. I want to share a short testimony quickly. In '84, I was sent as a missionary to India, and I was just 1 year. And the idea for God was, Amos, you're born in Singapore and you're grown here. Now the calling is to India, because in our ministry we are born in missions, grow in missions, you probably die in missions or even raptured in missions. But so somebody had to go for a long term. So to make the long story short, I was going in, called by God, and I stayed there for 1 year. And at that time, I'm supposed to go without Singapore money. I have to believe God for the Jesus of India, not the Jesus of Singapore, or the Jesus of the US. I don't really know all the money, but I was trained that way. And so it is during that time, after 10 months of suffering for Christ in India and all the challenges that was coming in, my wife was with me, my son was with me, and there was a kind of an epidemic that came to that village area, and children were dying of chronic diarrhea. They were just brought into hospitals, there was no medicine given, and they were just laid to die. And the sad part is my son got it. And he was just dehydrating, and he was also bleeding both ways, and there was no medical attention. I had a 1 year ticket, I passed 10 months, still can't use it. And a clear voice spoke to me, Amos, be a responsible father. Come on, you lost the first boy. This is a miracle boy. You got a free ticket to go home. Take your child, rush to Singapore, bring him to the hospital, all the treatment are available there. And then a small voice, Amos, don't go. I told you to come here. I will take care of your child. Quite blurred. But I told my wife. She was in tears. And it was tough for us to handle that one. Because we have all the means to go back. And there's no way of having medical attention here. But it was a test for us. And so we took what God spoke to us and began to believe God for it. And it's during that time, somebody called me to go and minister somewhere, and my son was just dehydrated, and his eyes was gone, and his body was getting still, and he's dying. And my wife said, we are staying back to serve him, so you might as well go. So I crossed the border of Karnataka, somewhere in that place. It was a small meeting, about 100 people. And my heart was bumping for my child. And here, inside my heart, I'm trying to praise God in the midst of all that. And then in that meeting, there was just like 100 people as I was preaching. The RSS people, if you know them, those fanatics, they were all behind. And my workers came and said, Pastor, you finish your preaching, we need to go, because this guy's going to give trouble. I was telling myself, my God, my child is about to die. I've traveled so far here, and just for this guy to stop me, I'm not going to stop. It doesn't matter. Maybe I take the first trip, my son will take the second trip up there to heaven. So I was ready for anything. And then that guy told the sound man, the sound man is always behind. Our sound man is also behind. So he went to the sound man and said, off the sound. I took the mic, I said, you, don't disturb me. I want to finish my preaching.
Amen.
And my worker said, Pastor, why you do that? They would have beat us. Can't run. Our cars have been far away. And then the altar call came. And then this guy, elderly man, brought this 7-year-old girl. And I was about to lay hands. He has brought the team over this side because he's furious already. He's ready to beat with all the weapons and everything. My heart was bumping. I had two kinds of fire, Holy Spirit fire and fear fire. Everything was all confusing. Heartbeat for my son and everything, but I was ready. Whatever. Let's take the first trip. My son will take the second trip. It could be negative. But still we're praising God and laying hand. He said, if you touch my daughter, I'll break your hand. Then I realized it was his daughter. Father-in-law was bringing him. I thought I was ready to die. So what about the hand? Lay hands and prayed over. And then my worker said, we will come around you. We'll take the beat first, but we can't assure you about whether you will get it or not. But we're going to go fast enough. How far? Okay, we went fast, and the whole crowd came around us. And I thought it's finished. And suddenly the Holy Spirit said to me, Amos, prophesy. I said, rebuke the devil. You're saying it the wrong time. Anyway, obedient, turned around, I pointed at him, and I said, you will be saved in 2 weeks. And in 1 month, you'll be casting out demons. You'll be an evangelist. He freezed, and thank God, he ran to the car and disappeared. That prophecy helped, whether it was true or wrong or whatever it is, but he freezed. Came home, escaped death and everything, came home, and my son was just about to go off. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were both praising God. And suddenly the Lord spoke to me, Amos, will you give your son to me and still serve me in India joyfully? I said, Lord, I have all the faith for him to be healed. He's a miracle baby. But are you willing if I take him today? So I asked my wife. She was with tears. Those ladies, they sometimes don't talk, but their eyes talk louder than their words. So I said, I'm ready. I will serve the Lord with joy. What about you? Then her tears spoke again. This time the tears spoke. I said, if you are willing, let's carry our baby boy and then put him on the table, give him to the Lord. She said, all right. Carry, lay, and that's it. We were like Apaches round the fire, screaming and up. That's the day I really know what joy is all about, when it's empty of joy and you're praising God. And that's really supernatural, powerful, full of the Holy Ghost. The next day the skeleton boy was running around totally healed. I have a granddaughter from him now. He's 33 years old. What happens when there is no praise? Many people have no gains because they won't praise. And some people, when they go into prayer with all their burdens, the longer they pray, the longer the face.
That's right.
Oppo, papaya, and long beans. Depends on how long. What negative prayer? Lord, why are you not doing anything? That kind of prayer. No, Lord, I believe your word says, I bind every hindrances, I give you the praise. Not like that. So we need to really have the right prayer. They complain, why is God not fulfilling His promises? Uncertainty can cause people to misunderstand God. A denial of God's true nature. Some embrace the situation as a gift. This is a gift from God. No, sir. Some say it is fated. In Tamil they say, you know, it's written in the hymn. No. If you believe in faith, you don't believe in faith. You know? And it's like, Kesara Sara, what will be? Not like that. God gave my, like you said, God gave my auntie leukemia to purify her. I thought the word washes her. Until a crazy thought comes in, and therefore it blocks the healing. His ways are not some ways. Some people say His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. Come on, it's so clear. By His stripes we are healed. The situation and focus on God and give God the glory and His goodness during that time. So what must we do? The moment you get your gate is formed, a place of entrance is formed for God to invade your situation.
Yes.
The moment you begin to get high praise and worship the Lord and focus on His word, and your mind, your word, your heart, everything is connected, and you rise up in the Spirit, the gate is open. Heaven is ready to attack. The attitude of praise, worship, declaring His goodness must prevail even when the situation seems hopeless in times of uncertainty. Our troubling circumstances may last days, months, years, but our attitude and approach should be the same. You know, some people, when the doctor said it's stage 1 cancer, they go with real prayer. Then the doctor says, stage 2, the prayer goes down a little bit. And then the doctor, it's like a rhema word from the doctor. Stage 3, the prayer changes.
Stops.
Lord, let thy will be done. Your ways are not our ways, Lord. And then the pastor on the funeral day, we all prayed. We all fasted. But she's happy in heaven. Sometimes our thoughts are not His thoughts. Wake up, you pastor. We must continue to declare the goodness and faithfulness of God in the midst of our trial.
Yes.
Before we have an answer. You see, Matthew chapter 24 verse 13. In the midst of all this happening, God is molding an army that will rise in the Spirit, positioned strongly there, and the gospel of Jesus will be preached as a powerful witness. We are believing for world horrors, but we need to be ready for that new wave of the Holy Spirit. That miracles is a way of life.
Amen.
More position in the Spirit. We are very good in the natural. We need to be better in the spiritual. Amen. Walking in the Spirit. James chapter 1 verse 16. Do not be deceived. Verse 17. Every good and perfect gift comes from Him. I want to ask you, is there sickness in heaven?
No.
Is there death in heaven?
No.
Is there unanswered prayer in heaven?
No.
That's the same Jesus we believe in.
Yes.
But in this world we need to overcome that. Amen?
Amen.
The Lord loves, in Psalms 87, the last verse, maybe the last, not last. Psalms 87 verse 2. The Lord loves to dwell at the gates more than all the dwelling place of Jacob. So praise is crucial at this time, that we need to praise God. Gate represents praise, which provides the entrance for His blessing in the midst of suffering. Amen. Let me tell you what happened when, of course, my son got healed. And 12 years later, some brothers called me to go back to that border again. That place is called Bidar or something, near to Karnataka. In Karnataka, I think. So I said, then, I've got the gift of forgetfulness, so I forgot everything what happened. So I gave them 2 days. On the way, when I was going in, I was trying to remember. I said, hey, I prophesied over that guy. I don't know what happened to him. I was just telling this after 12 years. And when I reached there, a doctor has prepared the meetings, received. This time, wow, they really received all that, and the gardening and everything. And then they brought me to this young lady, just got married, went into the house, and she gave us tea, and the doctor said, do you recognize her? I said, first of all, I've got the gift of forgetfulness. Secondly, it was 12 years ago. I can't remember. I don't know who she is. He said, this is the one that you lay hands and pray. She was 7 years old then. And he said, where's the father? And there's a guy who said, he was with me all the time since the time I came in. He said, 2 weeks I got saved. Hallelujah. And if there's any devil in me that cannot cast out the company. Wow. God is great. He puts us in different fiery trials to actually mold the spirit man, shape the man, position you there, not just here, but it sinks in and you're shaped and you become like the first Adam before he sinned. Dominion power. You speak the word and victory happens. Amen. And then, well, in the evening they brought me to a meeting. I thought it was going to be maybe 200 this time. And then there was some kind of election going on. I said, what election? By-election or what election? No, it's just an election going on. Then they took the car inside. I said, what are you taking in? There's a big crowd here. Look at the stage. Welcome, Pastor Amos from Singapore. There were 25,000 people that night. I was in tears all the way. I don't know where in the world all these tears came. I was in tears all the way. And the Lord says, you sow with tears, now you reap with joy. I mean, it was a learning lesson. God was dealing, He was doing divine operation. Would you allow God to do that? Yes. Because He's raising an army that's full of power and anointing. He wants you to see your circumstance change because He has all the power and authority given to us to do it. We must be ready. The other guys are trained well. We are not trained. We need to rise up to the Spirit as a mighty army so that the gospel of Jesus can go forward. Amen. It was amazing. God was dealing with my spirit, molding, shaking me for something very good. Amen. In conclusion, my prayer, by faith, by holding on to His promises, rising in the Spirit, our inner man will be empowered with might by the Holy Spirit to walk in the supernatural before the blessing comes. Amen. Amen. So we stand in the presence of God. I don't know what you're facing right now. It could be a mountain. It could be a situation. I want you to take your right hand and put it on your chest because I'm not going to be able to pray for every one of you. But I know the Holy Spirit is with you now. There could be a situation. It could be a job. It could be a fear. It could be a habit. It could be a problem. It could be a sickness. It could be something that you have been waiting for so long and there's no answer. Today God is speaking to you. I want to agree with you, pray with you, that you will begin to praise God and really take hold of the promises of God. Build an intimate relationship with God. It must be consistent. This is the time God is building you. He wants to give you the breakthrough. Let's put our hands on our chairs and let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you, Lord, for the miracles that you have done in my life. And I pray for my brothers and sisters, for the church also, Lord, that they are going into a new place. You have called them. They are taking this church into a new level in the Spirit. Lord, just as Isaiah 54 verse 1, you barren women, cry out, sing out in joy, because you are going to give birth to the left and to the right, more than the natural mother. It's a time to cry out. It's a time to give high praise to the Lord, because the areas that you are barren, God's going to bring fruitfulness. Nothing is impossible. Lord, we commit everyone at this time, Lord, their personal situation, their family situation, their financial situation, their spiritual situation, whatever the need is, Lord, we agree together in the name of Jesus. We bind it. We release your power right now, Lord. Lord, we pray for an open heavens, Lord. Lord, we pray that even as we experience this miracle, we also experiencing you in a very special way. Lord, we know that you are raising an army, that in the midst of difficulty, or global, economic, or political shaking, we will rise above. And we stand as a body organization that is empowered from on high by the power of the Holy Spirit as a testimony. I pray for healing. I pray for a miracle this day, Lord. I pray for this church, this wonderful ministry that they have, that their light will shine and impact the whole world. Release your blessing. Receive the miracle by faith in Jesus' name. Give the Lord a big round of applause. Thank you very much. God bless you. Please be seated.